It's time for the Hockey Minute, your source for all of today's hockey news with some opinion. Strap in for the fastest news in the NHL. This episode is proudly brought to you by fucking nobody. We don't have any sponsors. Now, here's your hosts, Brandon and Ryan.
And here we are. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Minute. I am your host, Brandon. With me, as always, my co-host, Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good.
Have you heard of these murder hornets? This is the new thing. So for context, we're recording this early May. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm looking forward to getting outside after this.
Absolutely.
And I open up my phone and I read about murder hornets and some very scary photos.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think, what are we doing here in 2020?
What's the next thing we can be afraid of, you mean?
Well, I have a question about this, and this is almost a rhetorical question, I guess, because it's just you and I talking. But if somebody knows the answer, please let us know. How did these things get here? Because I've been hearing they're coming from Asia, and I feel like that's a long way to fly. If you're coming across the Pacific Ocean as a swarm of hornets, like how are they getting here? But then they're coming, and then it's like, don't go outside because these things, they bite the heads off bees. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm a full-grown human being, so I'm not overly concerned. Yeah. But these photos look like they're coming out of like a John Wick movie. The way that they've got photos of these murder hornets, it's like extreme close-ups. They're angry looking.
I mean, like, I think any insect, if you get to that level, they look pretty metal anyway, right? Like, if you look at a fly up close, it's pretty fucking scary. So I'm not too worried about it. And actually, I was on the internet, which is a place nobody should go. And I saw a picture of a murder hornet being allegedly murdered itself by a swarm of bees that were overheating it. They were just piled on top of it, squishing that fucking thing. So
why did you say allegedly? Like, are these bees going on trial and we have to watch what we're saying?
That's it. Well, like, I'm not trying to slander the name of the murder hornet, right? If it's got murder in the front of its name, I don't want them thinking I'm trying to say it's not tough.
It's self-defense for those bees.
That's it, exactly. So today we're gonna do something a little bit different. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly for our news blast. Na 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 na. We're gonna start with the good. Sidney Crosby donates 100,000 meals to the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank in COVID relief.
Now we have the bad. The NHL and the NBA may be engaging in a bit of a turf war over having Vegas as a main neutral site for the playoffs.
And the seriously ugly. The Capitals move to terminate the contract of Brendan Leipsic after hateful messages were leaked from a private Instagram chat.
Yeah, he's squeaky clean too. He's a ghost on social media. He is. So I used to just get sick of hearing about him about 15 years ago when he was this up and coming superstar, and then he gets drafted by the Penguins. I'm a Capitals fan. There's obviously a rivalry there, but
yeah,
the stuff that this guy does, and there's so much more that we probably don't even know.
Right.
I think this past season he won the All-Star game. Was it this year or last year? But either way, he won the All-Star game MVP. So he wins a car, and I want to say he gave it to like a single mom or like somebody who just needed a car.
Right.
And I guess he tracked her down. And the thing is, he does this stuff anonymously. The only reason this story about the food bank got out, I believe, was because they actually wanted to make a big spectacle about it, just to kind of say this is just who this guy is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's a saint. Like it's impossible to hate him now, and the older I get, the more I respect him.
Yeah, and just to touch on the car, he gave us the car that he won at the All-Star game. I think it was 2 years ago to this woman, Madeline Malizio, and she's a single mom of three, basically going through, putting herself through school. So, I mean, Crosby just found the best, most needing person that he could find. And it actually kind of, it really reminds me of the Sedins when they gave, I believe it was $4 million to the Children's Hospital in BC.
Yeah.
And they wanted to remain completely anonymous, and the only reason it came out is because the Children's Hospital wanted to use it, and they believed that it would draw more donations and better PR if it were public, which is why they allowed it. But I mean, yeah, just humble, great people.
Yeah, and Sid, he's he could run for governor in Pennsylvania. He'd win in a landslide. Maybe not in Philadelphia district, but at the same time, yeah. I mean, especially right now with all the stuff we hear about owners, which we don't really need to get into this because there's a lot of logistics to this. But some owners in different sports leagues are laying people off, or they're not paying their employees and everything. And Sidney Crosby just quietly. And now we're talking about Sid. There's a lot of guys that have been doing stuff. Tons of guys are donating, whether it's meals or just money.
Yeah,
they're doing things. But the fact that Sid just kind of does this stuff relatively consistently, and he does it anonymously. That's why he's the king of the league, right? It doesn't. You can debate who the best player is, but I don't think you can really debate who the best humanitarian is, because Sid is, for all the money that he makes and all the fame that he has, he's truly taken that Wayne Gretzky level of, I'm just going to do nice things for people. Right. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, and I'm just gonna, the two things in his life are hockey and then acts of charity for sure. So we move on to the bad. And I'm kind of I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but a tweet from Adrian Dater, quote, "I'm hearing of something of a potential turf battle brewing between NHL and NBA over having Vegas as a main neutral site for playoffs." So, Brendan, I want to hear your thoughts on this, because you'd think that Vegas may get the green light, as they have a team there already.
Right.
And Vegas is definitely going to be in the playoffs, but NBA makes a lot of money, and if it comes down to a bidding war, I don't know, man. It's not looking too good for the NHL, because I don't think they can keep up with the finances.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly right. As far as the NHL just finding a home for a neutral site, I mean, Vegas is great. Obviously, players love to go down there. Just anywhere they can get in is going to be kind of ideal, I think, for them. As long as they can finish out the season, they'd be happy to play in Arizona or wherever they needed to. I find it interesting that they don't have kind of first right of refusal for using the arenas, considering they're the incumbent in Vegas. I'm really curious to see how that's actually going to play out over time, or if it is just a financial consideration.
Now, I'll ask you this. If it came down to a literal turf war, so the NHL sends 20 guys, the NBA sends 20 guys. Yeah. We have a battle royale, okay? So NBA guys, they're going to be bigger. They're going to be taller. I mean, aside from maybe Chara and Tyler Myers, who wins though? Because I got to think, if the NHL says let's quickly run through this. Ryan Reeves, Tom Wilson, Nick Delorier in Anaheim's a pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Tom Wilson going toe to toe with Kawhi Leonard and actually doing some damage to Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard could palm anybody's head, is kind of the problem. That man has the biggest fucking hands I've ever seen. It's mind-boggling. But I mean, aside from Kawhi, you're a big NBA guy, right? So you've obviously seen a few of the dust-ups they've had over the years, and just aren't they always a little bit embarrassing when they start to fight?
Yeah, it's the only one that happened this year that actually was a legitimate sort of quote-unquote line brawl was Karl Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid. They got into a scuffle, and there were actual punches thrown. I mean, none of them landed. I think only one kind of grazed Joel Embiid. But yeah, like for these guys, they're so big, but I just get the feeling like in a fight, they're too uncoordinated to really cause some damage. Like if the NBA sends their 7-footers,
right, that's done,
dude.
Yeah,
Ryan Reeves. No, I'm saying I don't think so. I think Ryan Reeves could just dummy these guys, Tom Wilson and all the other guys I mentioned. I believe that if it came down to a legit, that would actually be just good entertainment. And I know the UFC, they're also talking about buying an island. How about this? The UFC buys the island, and then it's a 20-on-20 just kind of weekend-long octagon match where the NHL, it's like it leads up to the title fight of LeBron versus, I don't know, who's a really tough superstar.
Ooh, it's got to be Chara.
Chara? Okay.
Yeah.
So Chara, actually Chara's a freak too. I think he grapples in the offseason as like just training. So
Yeah, exactly.
LeBron, Chara, that's your title fight. And I'm all for it.
Chara's actually bigger than LeBron, isn't he? Isn't LeBron like 6'8"?
Yeah. Chara's got a couple inches and probably, they're both freaks athletically, but I don't know. My money's still on Chara there. Like LeBron's quick, but I feel like Chara, it's like once you get in his grasp, then you're done for.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Chara the same way that I look at Jaws from James Bond. There's just something off about that guy. I feel like he'd murder me without, a second thought.
It's the same face.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure he was Jaws. That's true.
But anyway, so yeah, it will be interesting. Now, the one thing that we saw just a couple days ago was the Premier of British Columbia wrote a letter, or he says he wrote, which makes me think he sent letters, which in 2020 is just funny to think about, that he would, he feels that Vancouver would be a good site, a neutral site. So
yeah,
that's exciting. I mean, they're still not going to let fans come to games, obviously, but
right.
I think it would still be exciting just for the city as well to just have this be almost like another Olympics type thing. Have all the, or a bulk of teams come here, and maybe all the Western Conference teams come here and play. And I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Would you be down there just with your cell phone, just running up on guys on the street, just like, Brandon, Hockey Minute, tell us what you think about? And then they're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, who is this clown? I don't know, man. I mean, see, for me, I was downtown as much as I could be when the Olympics were here in 2010. That was a real special time to kind of be around the crowd and be out and like I'd hop on the bus to go home after an evening, and people were singing the national anthem on a packed bus, and I just that's an experience that I don't think we're going to even come close to replicating, even if it were the regular Stanley Cup Finals and everything was going as normal. I think the Olympics is just a special kind of event. If we're having neutral site in Vancouver and restaurants aren't open to the same capacity that they should be and those kinds of things, I think it's going to put a real kind of wet blanket over the whole experience, and I'd probably just grab a 12-pack and watch from home, honestly.
Well, and the exciting thing about this is that so our province is going to reopen here. They've announced kind of a 4-phase thing.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, as much as I'm looking forward to getting outside, if they had just games all day long from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. start times kind of thing, I would be in heaven. Mm-hmm.
That's the best way for them to keep lockdown going for sure.
Yeah,
just like
you got a bunch of hungry, hockey-starved people in Vancouver.
Yeah,
and I 100% would sacrifice a little bit of daylight if it meant that I got to watch essentially just days on end of hockey. So
yeah,
smart move by John Horgan coming in the clutch. He's helping the economy a little bit here too. I would imagine the NHL would probably book up a bunch of hotels and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the tinfoil hat theory that you have there, though. It's like they're like, well, we're not quite ready yet, and with these murder hornets floating around, maybe if we just have the players come to Vancouver, it's like 100% people are going to stay in. So
that's one interesting thing I think about the neutral site games is what are they going to do about the board mics? I mean, like as it stands, there's a lot of shit that gets said that they don't want people picking up, but the crowd noise kind of muffles it. Well, they're going to have 11 people in the arena outside of the actual players, and you're going to hear everything on the ice. Are they going to have a delay? It's going to be wild.
I think they'd have to have a delay, or else they put it on HBO or something. I remember, this was randomly, I don't watch CFL, but I was watching a CFL game at the gym one day. It was the only thing on, and they had mics on the quarterbacks, which I thought was really interesting. And the guys, obviously ahead of time, are probably told, hey, just watch what you're saying.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a delay, but watching it, I don't think I heard a quarterback. I watched a quarter and a half as I was lumbering along on the treadmill, but I don't think I ever heard anybody say anything bad. Like no swear words, obviously, but it was just more it was interesting to hear the communication. So it would be an interesting thing to kind of maybe try it out, see if you could do that. They do that with all-star games and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but in a live hockey game, it would be really cool if. And you're right, they'd probably have to do some sort of a delay because I feel like in a heated battle of Alberta,
right.
Matt Tkachuk and Zach Kassian are not going, "Hey, how was your quarantine?"
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. But I would honestly pay extra to hear the players on the ice. Like I would pay a lot extra to be able to get that HBO experience of the kind of the unfiltered, raw player communication. I think that would just take it to a whole other level of kind of the fan experience at home. Okay, so moving on to the ugly. The Capitals have moved to terminate Brendan Leipsic after some hateful messages were leaked from a private group chat that they had on Instagram with his, I believe, younger brother and another teammate. And just to kind of set this up, I mean...
Hey, I'll stop you there.
Yeah.
You made it sound like the Capitals are going to assassinate him. You said they're going to terminate Brendan Leipsic.
Oh, thank you.
They're terminating his contract. They're not actually going to take him outside behind the shed and put a bullet in him.
Yeah, they're just firing him to Russia. Enjoy the KHL, scrub. All right. So this is a bit of a tough one, guys. It's extended beyond the hockey world, but it's definitely something that we need to touch on here. And I mean, I'm really of two minds here. I have a hard time with anybody losing their position after some things that are private were leaked. But at the same time, I mean, these are our role models for all of our youth, right? These are people that are held up to a really privileged position, and everybody who's in the NHL accepts that. I mean, they kind of take that and treat it as an honor. And I mean, we're going to get into it for sure, but I mean, he was shitting on teammates, he was shitting on ex-teammates, teammates' wives, just hateful stuff. So, Ryan, what were you thinking when you first came across all this?
Well, do you have any more thoughts? Because I have a lot, and I want to give you a chance to just speak before I jump into this.
I mean, I guess the only thing I really want to point out is that I don't, and I'm sure you feel the same, but I don't think that the comments of Leipsic represent anywhere close to what the average hockey player would feel. I mean, I try not to make everything about the Canucks, but I mean, I look at a guy like Bo Horvat, who, I mean, from all accounts, is just a stand-up human being. I look at the Sedins, Tanner Pearson. There's just... all of these guys are guys that, I mean, I've got two young daughters, and I hope that they end up with guys that carry themselves in the way that they appear to. Now, who knows, maybe Horvat, beats his puppy or something when he gets home. I have a feeling that that's not the case, but it's just, I really want to make it clear that the actions of Leipsic and some of his scumbag friends throwing around some garbage insults, that it just looks like they're trying to make themselves feel better. I mean, honestly, like, Leipsic is a fringe, shitty NHL player, and when I watched him on the Canucks before, he had some talent. I mean, he had a killer junior career for the Winterhawks, but I mean, he never seemed to really fit. And when he got the boot from Vancouver, I remember thinking, like, there must be something more to his game, to his story that's going on. And then, he's trashing Virtanen and the group of guys on the Canucks and just anybody apparently that he came in contact to. And before I throw it over, there's kind of a motto that I try and live by, and it's like, if you meet one asshole, it could be them. If everybody's an asshole, it's definitely you.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just have so many. I've been up till 1, 2 in the morning reading about this story some nights as things progress. So first thing I'm going to say, and this is probably going to be the most controversial thing I'm going to say, which I understand where people are going to come from on this. Hockey culture. I find it very fascinating that every time something happens involving hockey players, that it's somehow a big cultural thing. We have hip hop music, for instance, has way more derogatory stuff said about women than hockey players, and yet we don't say anything about that. Mm-hmm. With the hockey guys, listen, I played for almost 20 years, okay? So from age 6 to age 24, I played hockey. Now, we'll take away the 8 years from age 6 to age 14 because you're in elementary school. You're not, you're not even interested in girls. I mean, there's no locker room talk in that case. Now, age 14 to 24, so 10 years, okay? I played with between winter and summer hockey and men's league and different men's leagues teams, I played with over 100 guys. Easily, possibly even closer to 200. Now, I can sit here and tell you, when I was playing AAA hockey, I mean, yeah, there was one kid that I remember was always kind of, and we were in 9th grade, right? So he, it was kind of just locker room talk, and it's like, well, nobody believed this guy because we're in 9th grade, man. You're not doing half the stuff you say you're doing. As an adult, yeah, were there games, on a Monday night at 10:30 at night, you're talking about your weekends, and a guy says, yeah, I went to the bar and I picked up a girl. We went back to my place and we hooked up or we slept together, whatever adjectives you want to use. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not derogatory. That's just you saying, that's what I did. If anything, we're roasting the guy because we're going, geez, she must have been blind to go home with you.
Exactly.
Right. And you touched on it. I think about Leipsic, the last two teams he played for, Washington Capitals. Okay. Look at that leadership group: Ovechkin, Carlson, Holtby, Oshie, Backstrom, Wilson. Guys like that. Those are not guys that I'd be willing to bet my car that these guys are not in group chats talking about women to the level that Brendan Leipsic and his loser friends were. He played for the Canucks. The Canucks, you and I are Vancouver guys. The last 10 years, the Sedins, Luongo, Bieksa, Corey Schneider, guys like, obviously the new wave of Bo Horvat, Brock Besser. I just saw Brock Besser did a Zoom call with BC Children's Hospital the other day.
Exactly.
Answering questions with sick kids. Like, are there instances like with what Austin Matthews did last summer with the security guard at that apartment complex? Yeah.
Right.
Is that a scumbag thing by Austin Matthews? 100%. And it cost him probably the captaincy in Toronto, and they kind of swept it under the rug. But
yeah, they did.
To say that hockey culture, this is a common thing in hockey culture. There was a Twitter account, it's gone now, but I read the guy had 58 screenshots. I read all 58. I have never been in a locker room or in a group chat with guys talking to the extent that these guys were talking about. I mean, there was I'll read a couple here. I don't want to get into the rereading these, but this woman who, by the way, checked out her Instagram, she's stunning.
Right.
But she's 8 months pregnant in a photo. And they're talking about how she doesn't look good and everything like that. They're calling her, fat and oink oink and stuff like that. Yeah. So way to go, guys. Nobody's going to want to reproduce it with you. I mean, they kind of know how you feel about pregnant women. So that's my first thought. The chirping the teammates thing, I mean, in this context, it looks pretty bad. I work in an office with 1,000 people. I mean, yeah, you're going to run into people you don't like. But when you're calling guys, especially guys that are tougher than you, Garnet Hathaway, Jake Virtanen, and Nick Dowd, good old dummy, Brendan Leipsic, and you're saying these guys are losers. Like I said, the hockey culture thing, I don't buy that hockey culture caused this. I think this is a people issue. Any company with more than 1,000 people, you're going to have people like this. I worked in banking. I could tell stories about my time working in banking that would make your stomach churn. Yeah. And just the attitude that some people who found success in that industry, how they treated women, how they treated their spouse, how they'd cheat on their spouse. Yeah. So I don't buy the argument that this was a hockey thing that caused this. Now, as I said, I'm not defending all hockey players. I'm sure hockey guys out there, they're doing stupid shit. And I won't defend those guys. I'm just saying this is not to that level. Okay, so my second point is that hockey is a tight-knit community. It's a tight-knit culture, okay? The guys in the league are a brotherhood, right? They're all under the same PA and all that stuff. So a quick story here, and this is just, I can't go into it too much because it gives away my only connection to the NHL, and that's a 6 degrees of separation, so I don't want to burn this. But so a couple of years back, guy on Team A throws a cheap shot on a player on Team B. And Team B, they want to beat up the guy on Team A, but they can't get to him. The game ends. They don't get their retribution. A couple games later, Team A plays Team C. The same player on Team A throws a cheap shot on a player on Team C. Another guy on Team C goes out, beats the absolute wheels off of the guy on Team A. Players on Team B are then texting guys on Team C, saying, hey, thanks for doing that. We know it wasn't because of what happened to our guy. It's because of what happened to your guy. But we enjoyed watching that. We enjoyed watching you just tune this guy up.
Right, exactly.
And I bring this up because Brendan Leipsic didn't just attack random people on Instagram. He was attacking players' wives. And I look at Tanner Pearson being the prime kind of target of this and his family. Dude, Tanner Pearson, first of all, I looked up Tanner Pearson's Instagram.
Yep.
Okay. Every photo he's got in the last 2 or 3 years is him with his sister talking about how he's excited to be an uncle. He's got pictures of his family, his pictures of his dog, pictures of him thanking the LA Kings when they traded him to Pittsburgh for all the time that they invested in him. Then he had a picture of him and his dad. I guess they ran into each other in the airport when he got traded from Pittsburgh to Vancouver. And he thanked the city of Pittsburgh and the organization. He was only there like a year.
Yeah.
So you're looking at one of the true nice guys in the league. I haven't heard a single bad thing about him, not just from his teammates, but just people that have come across him in public have always just, nobody said, oh yeah, he's a prick in real life.
Right.
And so Brendan Leipsic goes after his wife and and makes some comments. I'm not even going to repeat because it just disgusts me. Tanner Pearson was with the LA Kings for a long time. He won a cup with Kyle Clifford and Jake Muzzin, who both play for Toronto. I bring up the story of the Team A, Team B, Team C because that's the mentality guys have. And I wouldn't put it past a guy like Kyle Clifford to go, hey, I like Pearson.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great guy, won a cup together. If Brendan Leipsic was playing with the Capitals, I wouldn't doubt that, forget playing Vancouver. They play Toronto. I could see Clifford and Muzzin going, we're going to be extra tough on Leipsic tonight.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think a lot of guys in the league, there's a line that you don't cross. You can trash talk a guy for a variety of different reasons, but when you start bringing wives into it, that's crossing a line, and it's sets you up to just have a really rough night. And to top it off, his two line mates, two of the toughest guys on Washington, were also being made fun of in these group chats. If I'm Garnet Hathaway, who, by the way, I think he did something with a kid that was making masks. I can't remember exactly the story there, but he does a lot of work as well with police and military. He's a big proponent of looking after those industries.
Yeah.
If I'm Garnet Hathaway and I see Kyle Clifford jump Brendan Leipsic, am I in a rush to get in there?
Oh, buddy, you're taking the longest, most circuitous route you can find. Absolutely, which is kind of. I might. Oh, sorry, buddy. I'm going to let you continue. I just wanted to say I think a lot of us actually wish that Leipzig wouldn't have been terminated by the Capitals just to see the fallout, right? Just to watch the fucking popcorn eating drama that would occur. When he played every team, it would almost be like what's happening with the MLB and the Orioles, right? With their cheating.
With the Astros,
Orioles?
yeah. Astros, yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly my point I was going to bring up, is that a lot of guys, I think if you ask them, they would go, I mean, those Leipzig comments were disgusting in general, but when you start attacking a guy's wife, and as I said, these guys, first of all, I don't get why any of these guys have any opinion on how someone looks. I mean, I looked up all these guys. This isn't a group chat with Roman Josi and Henrik Lundqvist. These guys are all guys that if it wasn't for hockey, they would be single as all hell. I mean, they're not lookers. And so the fact that these guys are out and saying these things about teammates' wives, I think 100% guys, even if they didn't know Tanner Pearson, would be going, that's crossing a line. You don't do that. And they'd be jumping in there. My last point on this, I know this has been long-winded, guys, is that the people I feel sorry for, I feel sorry obviously for Tanner Pearson and his family, because they don't need that. They don't deserve that. I feel bad for the women that were involved. I want to give a shout out actually to Nicole Zajac. She was interviewed by one of the Canadian news companies up here.
Right.
And she turned this into a positive, because her Instagram is full of body positive stuff. And she was one of the girls that was named in this group chat. And she just totally brushed it off. And her Instagram is really inspiring if you guys go take a look. I feel bad for the girls in this, and like I said, I saw 58 screenshots. There were some girls that looked like they were 20 years old that they're going to open up their social media. They're going to see themselves get tagged in these conversations. I don't even know if they know these guys at all.
Right.
But you've got two young daughters. I've got two young nieces. Like, this is the kind of stuff. Like, we wonder why society has an issue with kids not having any self-esteem, right? You look at Instagram especially, and we're on Instagram. I mean, I run the Hockey Minute Instagram channel. I don't like being on Instagram when it comes to the girls that have their photos doctored. They remove any sort of blemish on the skin, and then you get people that jump on there thinking that's reality. And you got girls that are posting pictures of themselves just out at a park with their friends, and these hockey guys are, she's ugly, she's Shrek, she's this. That's the lowest of the low. And it just does nothing positive. And I feel bad for the girls that had to go through this. And I hope that they're doing okay. I hope that they're able to get through this. And I really hope that all these girls named in this were messaging each other, just supporting each other. Because like I said, a couple of them I saw were just kind of making fun of the whole thing, going like, these guys are losers. Like, I don't care what they have to say. But that's not going to be all of them.
Exactly.
Like, and I have to imagine that for some of these girls, that did hurt to see that. And so I do feel bad for them, and hopefully that they get the support that they need, and for Pearson and his wife too. I mean, they don't need that. So it's overall it's disgusting, and I've gone on about this long enough. I'm glad that Brendan Leipsic was terminated his contract from the Caps. I really, he's not coming back. He's not going to be in the AHL. If he is, he's screwed, because guys are gonna. You think NHL guys are tough? AHL guys are even tougher. And so he's pretty much done in North America. He'll have to play for way less money than he ever could have made here over in Europe somewhere. His brother gets kicked out of school. I don't have a problem with that. People are kind of saying, well, how can you do that? Everybody now is a brand. You're a representation, whether you like it or not. If you're on social media, you're a representation of yourself and your employment. And if you're in school, dude, you're getting kicked out. I haven't heard anything about Jack Rodwald at this point. I know he's in the Florida Panthers system, I believe, or Ottawa Senators. I'm not sure which, but I haven't heard anything about him. But I'd have to imagine he's in these chats too, and he's making some comments to drug use and how how he views women and treats women. Buddy, you're done.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to carry that for sure.
Yeah, and it was there was a quote from a coach in the MJHL, Manitoba Junior Hockey League, that said it's disappointing, but these guys also got to remember, Brendan Leipsic's the most famous guy in this group chat, and he's not even that famous. So if from here till the end of time, if you Google Brendan Leipsic, this is what's going to come up. So these guys have effectively ruined their lives. They've completely shown their views and their cards on how they view women, and like I said, I mean, no woman is going to want them after this, and that's completely screwed them too. Because maybe they do go on a retribution tour. I doubt it. I mean, the funny thing about that tweet, or whatever you want to call it, that was posted by Leipsic, that I read the messages. He's half literate in these group chat messages, and then all of a sudden he's got some eloquent thing, obviously written by a PR firm or his agent.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was actually going to mention that. Yeah, that's 100% legalese for "I fucked up. Can you help me?"
Yeah. So there's no coming back from this, though, and the internet never forgets. And we talked about it with Bill Peters on our last week's news break, him getting hired in the KHL, and I said, we it's been 10 years, maybe we give him a second chance, right?
Sure.
If these guys can turn it around, if they can genuinely turn it around, then I'm willing to give them a second chance. But right now, I mean, they're only mad they got caught.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. So
one thing I wanted to mention that I'm not sure was made clear by me before is with the Tanner Pearson stuff. Like, he was never a teammate with Brendan Leipsic, like, ever. They were on the same teams, but they never played together. So he's basically commenting on players that he doesn't actually know and their wives. Like, it's like Bill Peters going on Instagram and just calling random people the N-bomb.
Yeah.
Like, it's a far cry from the Bill Peters stuff, and I'm not defending Bill Peters. I think that there's a lot more hate in the stuff that is coming out from the Leipsic camp.
Yeah, it's hate and it's arrogance, and it's just like I said. I mean, you got to wonder at what point did these guys think that this was okay, that this was a normal thing to do? Because Brendan Leipsic's 26 years old.
Yeah,
and and like I say, he's not some 18-year-old. He's not an 18-year-old coming into the NHL on an entry-level deal, making a couple million a year, and has always been told he's great. He's had to grind it out. I mean, I'll give him credit.
Yeah.
He's played almost 200 NHL games. I don't think he's been in the AHL the last couple of years. He's just bounced around teams. Like, he's had a decent fourth-line career in this sense, and he is a player.
Yep.
But the thing is that you're not good enough to have, this type of saving in your career, and it doesn't matter what you do for any sort of therapy or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I just question, where did this come from, right? And I wonder about Leipsic's parents. Like, hey, like, what are they thinking right now, right? They raised 2 kids that are in these horrific messages. Like, is it the parents, or is it just the fact that these guys thought, I walk on water, and these are never going to be seen, and I can have these views? And I don't know. I mean, I've gone on long enough. I'll kick it over to you, but my main thing is just I hope that all the I'll call them victims in this case. I hope that they can all find a way to move on and lean on each other moving forward. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's absolutely right. I think the only thing I wanted to add is actually something that you mentioned when we were talking before we started recording, is that I don't want people to confuse this as kind of a natural evolution of the way that people like Paul Bissonnette represent himself, right? Just because he's kind of a happy-go-lucky guy that is, let's just say, sex positive, that talks about, his stories, but in a light that, it's at least from my perspective, it's never been degrading. He's not sitting there shitting on the women that he's been with. He's more usually talking about it in a self-deprecating sense of, X, Y, or Z way in which he fucked up or something along those lines, right? But he's trying to get the guys going. He's having a laugh, and they're all having fun about kind of a positive experience as opposed to just the hateful bullshit. And I think it just really bugs me to see guys like Biz Nasty or just hockey players in general get grouped into this Leipsic stuff, because it's absolutely abhorrent, and I think it goes above and beyond what anybody I know would ever consider acceptable. So, guys, I think that's going to do it for us. Sorry that got a little bit heavy at the end there. If you're still with us, thanks so much for listening. That's Ryan. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add? Maybe you could shoot the social media channels a little bit of love.
Yeah, guys, like I said before, let us know your thoughts on this subject, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Hockey Minute. You can find us there. You can leave comments. You can also, on Anchor, you can leave us a voicemail if you prefer to go that route as well. We would love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely. All right, guys, thanks for listening. From Ryan and Brandon, we'll catch you next time on The Hockey Minute.
We'd like to take a second to thank you, the listener, for joining us. And a big thanks goes to our writers and production team, Jules, Mark, and Matt. We couldn't do this without you. That's going to do it for us. This is Brandon and Ryan. We'll talk to you next time on The Hockey Minute.